Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 497. My name is John Morgan, and I am here with Cold Coffee, the rightful host of the MMA Roadshow, who's taking things to a new level. He's booting me out of the hosting role. He's saying, John, I don't even need you around here anymore. I don't even know why I waste my time.
It's been a nice run.
No.
Thank you for sticking around for 495 episodes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
This is a round of applause coming from me for Cold Coffee. Now, this is the second time that Cold Coffee has had to host. I never missed an episode before, so that had been done before. But in that previous occasion, he had a little bit of assistance with him, and that makes things a little bit easier, right? You can kind of kick things off to somebody. You can solicit some opinions. But last week, through my own fault, I will admit, and we'll go into that in just a moment, but basically through my own fault, you ended up being last-minute tasked with the idea of, I got to do the show or the show doesn't happen, and you said, you know what, damn it, I'm manning up, I'm on a solo mission, let's go, and you got it done. And just one more time, round of applause, because I know that you have feared.
Thank you very much.
You have feared that moment for about 9 years now, and when it came time, when your number got called, you stepped up and you delivered.
I was mainly afraid that the day after we would have no listeners subscribed to the podcast. Everybody would have shunned the episode. It's funny. But it's like you said, having being able to bounce things off of other people makes it so much easier. I get tired of hearing my own voice anyways, then let alone having to hear my own thoughts for however long. But yeah, it was good. We knew it was eventually going to happen. It was the all coffee show that nobody really ever really wanted, but they got it anyways. And next time, I think, and it definitely gave me more belief that I could definitely do. But next time, I would probably do it with better pre-planning, where I had more things. And it's funny, I quickly jotted some things down. And then it all went out the window. I was looking at my notes quickly as I was talking, and then I forgot, because I wanted to give a shout out to the folks down south that were dealing with Helene, because my sister in Tallahassee was even they're not right along the water line, but they had to board up their windows, and they had a bunch of tree parts and stuff come down. One day they got like 7.5 inches, which is nothing compared to those that are dealing with the flooding. But for when I think of in terms of Vegas, 7.5 inches would literally destroy Vegas. It would be done. So, when you're hearing these numbers and stuff, and I was just like, oh my goodness. But here I was like, Kenny, make sure you send a shout out to those down there, and completely forgot until the episode was done. I was like, oh man. So yeah, it's nice being able to bounce things off, but it was nice. Next time I'll have some proper planning and make sure I get to everything. But it's good. Now I can't say that it's never happened, and now I can't say that it can't happen again. I can't say, oh, no, we can't do it. We can't do it. Not that we're expecting that to happen.
I was going to say.
But, we know at least can be done.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't take that as I'm going to leave you out stranded. So basically, you and I last week, to recap, knew that Wednesday wasn't going to happen because I was flying out to North Dakota, and Four Bears Casino, which I am really starting to like that place a lot, man. It's just out there, remote. It's really cool. The people up there are cool, but it takes a while to get there. There's no direct flights from Vegas, obviously, and then even once you go to an airport, we didn't go to Minot this time. That's where we went last time. It's like an hour and a half. This time we went to Bismarck, but that's like 2 hours or whatever. So you still got like a 2-hour drive. So anyway, bottom line, we knew Wednesday wasn't going to happen, and then we thought we were going to do Thursday. Well, in the past when I was working with CFFC, it was really just I'm on the mic. So I'm pretty flexible. I can be like, hey, guys, sorry, I got to go to my room. I got to work on notes. I got a podcast to do. No big deal. We knock it out. Well, I'm starting to do a lot more stuff behind the scenes and have to be available for more things kind of on a moment's notice, where it's like, well, now we got to go do this, and we got weigh-ins, and we got this thing going on and whatever else, and I need to be able to do all that. And so the Thursday slipped away from me very quickly. But I was like, hey, man, I think we'll do Friday. Let's knock out Friday, and we'll get that done. And then there came the opportunity to go out on the water with longtime favorite of mine, Cowboy Cerrone, and of course the boss man Rob Haydack and Uncle Rudy as well, to go out on the water and spend the day on the boat. And part of it was, you know, as an employee of the company, I feel that if I'm being invited on this, you know, opportunity to have some FaceTime with my boss and kick it and just, you know, relax, we could do that. And part of it was, yeah, I kind of want to go out and hang out on the water with Cowboy Cerrone for the day and you know, enjoy the afternoon. So, you know, it was a little bit of feeling compelled that I needed to be there and a little bit of feeling that, yeah, you don't get a lot of opportunities like this. Let's just go jump it. Let's go fishing out there with Cowboy and the Boss Man. And I appreciate your flexibility and understanding allowing me to do that because I'll let it be known now. I am not much of a fisherman and an outdoorsman. I did not have a lot of success on the water. That is not really in my wheelhouse. But yeah. I did smoke a couple cigars and tell some jokes and have some good stories and enjoy the outdoors. So a personal thank you for understanding and allowing that flexibility. And yes, I will not. This does not mean that we are in a new era where you're doing solo all the time. But I appreciate doing it. And I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is. Obviously, the and a half episodes have long been kind of me going solo just because you're so busy wrapping up post-fight work. I know that feeling of like, am I talking so long that nobody cares what I'm saying? It feels rambling. So yeah. I appreciate you tackling that.
Well, I mean, and who wouldn't take the opportunity to hang out with, you know, Cowboy on the boat, you know, and it's good to spend time with the boss too. I mean, especially, you know, fostering those kind of relationships is very, very important. Yep. And it's nice when you actually like your boss and you like hanging out with your boss is always a plus. But I will tell you, they call it fishing. They don't call it catching. You know, just the fishing part is what most of you do, and it's about enjoying just being on the water, being out in nature. You know, if it was if we were always pulling things in, they would just call it catching, or they would call it, you know, dinner catching or something. But you know, it's, you know, out there, you know, being on the water, being the boat. It's just, there's just something so calming about it that, you know, as long as you don't have somebody busting your chops because you're not catching anything, it's just fun. It's something that, you know, it's one of the most relaxing pastimes. And there's just something about being on the water that is just so, I think, so fundamentally good for your soul. That I miss fishing, and let alone getting out on a boat, man. That's a good opportunity. Most of us poor folk, we just live on the land and we throw off from the sides, you know, of the water. To get out on the water is a nice treat. Let alone with Cowboy.
This was one of the guys that was one of the heads of the casino there. And he took us out on the boat, and he had like this huge motor on the back of it. So once we got out on the open water, I
can only imagine.
We were hauling. It was good. But then he had this cool thing I'd never seen. Now, again, I'm not an outdoor. This may be old technology, but I thought this was the coolest thing. So he had like the trolling motor, and I used to fish a little bit with my dad growing up. And, you know, you throw the trolling motor in, and when I was a kid, my dad would have like the little foot pedal on the trolling motor or whatever to kind of guide you, whatever. Well, this one, first of all, just the launch into the water was amazing. Like, it's folded up, and he would like hit a button, and everything would automate and drop the motor down. Yeah. But then it's got like GPS signaling on it now, so you can like say, just maintain my coordinate right here, or take me on this path down this, you know, shoreline or whatever, and it just does it all for you. You don't even have to touch anything. I'm like, this is cool, man. Y'all got gadgets.
Yeah. That's rich people technology. You know, the game doesn't change for those folk. You know, that'd be like back in the day when people are like, I have this thing, you know, it can tell where the fish are in the water. It's called a fish finder. Right. You're like, what the fuck is that?
They were like those.
Oh my god.
They were like those little. Bro, now they got like
little teeny dots.
Yeah, now they got like actual cameras. Like before, it was just like, you did like there's little digital dots, and you're like, I think that's a fish. I'm not sure. You better throw in there. Now they got like cameras. Like you can actually see the fish.
Yeah, you're like, oh no, I'm gonna pass on that one. That one's that's a little suspect.
A little too small. Move my lure out of the way.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. And then
it's amazing.
Obviously, there was like bald eagles flying around and stuff. I mean, it was cool.
Oh, that's cool.
So anyway, thank you very much for covering. Obviously, you're up in Salt Lake City this week. We'll get into that card real quick. But how did you take in the UFC in Paris? And any thoughts coming out? And obviously, you know, Moicano. I've just said it. Anytime I call fights with somebody, and just man, we've been following that guy's career for a long time, even before the Money Moicano era. I always had, you know, I always liked that guy a lot, and you know, got to call some fights to him, and that changed it to another level. But my God, what an incredible performance that was. So, how did you take in UFC Paris? And I guess that was probably the biggest performance for you.
I mean, that was huge news. I mean, I had picked Benoit just like most people on our staff. I thought, of course, there's all the possibility this guy's going to get it. The Paris crowd's going to get him fired up. And the Moicano was just like, shout out to Mutombo, who we lost. No. He gave that finger wag, and he was like, brother. He showed up, man, and he did what he does, man, and it was just incredible. You can't take anything away. I mean, I give all credit to Benoit for his heart to stay in there, and he would have kept on going. But, man, Moicano literally made him look on a different level. It was incredible. So shout out to him, man, and good for him. I mean, like, he went in there to be the bad guy to lose, in front of this Paris crowd, and he was like, no, I'm going home with this win, and it was amazing. But credit to Benoit, man. I know he would have kept on going. It was just unfortunate, you get a bad cut. And I kind of, once the doctor came in, I was like, oh yeah, it's done, man. His one eye was completely closed, and then let alone to have the just the cut over. I mean, you just couldn't see anything. I mean, it was unfortunate. But
it was funny because I was actually saying on the half episode, like, kudos to the doctor for doing the right thing, going through, covering the left eye and seeing, can you see out of the right? But honestly, like, even if he had been able to see, like, even if he's saying the right number of fingers, I think you could have stopped that anyway. Like, there were so many, like, bad cuts in dangerous spots. Like, even if he was seeing okay, it just, once the doctor was in there, I'm like, there's no way this thing's going on. So, great performance. I also loved, by the way, this is my kind of trash talk. When he, on the post-fight show, talked about Dan Hooker and saying that him in the top 5 is like a turtle in a tree. Because it didn't climb there. Somebody placed it there. Like, that to me is wholesome, sharp, witty trash talk right there. I know that this is the boisterous era, and you gotta say the big. But oh my God, that to me, and I love Dan Hooker. Like, it's not like I'm trying to say F Dan Hooker, he doesn't belong there. I'm not saying that, but I just thought that was hilarious. Like, it's like a turtle in a tree. It didn't climb there. It was placed there. I thought that was beautiful trash talk. And I will say, I was incredibly surprised when the rankings came out on Monday and there was no movement whatsoever for Renato Moicano. I honestly did not understand that with the official UFC rankings.
At least for the UFC rankings, it doesn't. Well, if you pay attention to MMA Junkie AI, our rankings actually did move Moicano. It's so funny when Dana said that shit, and this is credit to you because I remembered your work ethic when you and George would work on it. I haven't paid attention to our rankings since you left. There are some questionable shit in our rankings that I could see where if Dana actually looked at them, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? I think he was just actually throwing the name of an outlet out there, and it just happened to be MMA Junkie. I don't think Dana's actually really looking at our ranking, but there are some suspect choices in some of our ones, because I know, because some of the guys on our Slack channel were like, well, ask them about the rankings. It's funny because we just put out an article and we did move Moicano, and I was like, bro, I don't understand our rankings enough to defend them with the UFC president if he's actually had some stuff. So I was like, I left it alone,
right?
Because I stopped paying attention to our rankings, and I know it was interesting because I was having this discussion. I think it was with Oscar when we were on the car ride from the airport to the hotel, and he's like, I don't know why even outlets try to do a different ranking, because it's off of the UFC rankings where they supposedly pick the fights, that make sense. So regardless of what your outlet ranks them or your outlet ranks them, we're going to go off these rankings. So he's like, I don't know why anybody even does their rankings anyways. But that being said,
well, yeah,
I guess he did move in our rankings.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, look, the reason, for a long time, there were no official UFC rankings, right? So the media did the rankings, and those were the ones you looked at. And I think there is a value to, like, you guys doing rankings. It's an independent source, you know what I mean? It's not anything. Then the UFC tries to make theirs independent with these panelists and that sort of thing. So I do think there's value to it being done. It's always going to be a matter of opinion, but at least you get differing opinions and that sort of thing. So I think there is value, but I think you have to remember those rankings were done well before there were any official rankings. I mean, even if you go way back in time, MMA Weekly was doing rankings years and years ago, and they were like the only ones doing it, and those were kind of respected as the world rankings. And remember, too, that the rankings that MMA Junkie does, while they don't have a ton of athletes from other organizations, they do, they are an open ranking, not just a UFC ranking where, you try to incorporate PFL and Bellator and ONE and whoever else. So there is value to it. I mean, to that point. So I just want to make sure and state that, because those should also take into account fighters outside of the UFC as well. But that said, I do think, to your point, I don't think when Dana said that he specifically meant like he had been analyzing MMA Junkie's rankings and he thinks they suck, and that's why I'm saying this. I think he was just picking an outlet out or whatever. That's what I think.
Yeah, I was trying to find the example that one of our staff guys sent to me, when he was talking about, but I can't. I'm scrolling back. I can't.
Just trying to give you.
Find it.
He's trying to give you some bullets to fire there in the scrum.
Well, he was like, no, I guess I kind of see Dana's point, because one of the rankings was a little bit suspect or something. Yeah, it's crazy. You pull off a move like that. I mean, that was the guy. Benoit was the guy that people have been talking about, like as a contender. So if you take that guy's shine, and by all merits, you should be up higher in the rankings. You should be taking that shine. So for there to be no movement is just it's weird.
I was a little bit surprised. I'll tell you what's been a funny byproduct of it. So obviously I am on the rankings panel. I'm one of multiple voters. I don't see any of the other voters, panelists. Like, I just fill mine out. The administrators at Combat Registry, they tally everything. So I don't see anything else. I just know what my rankings are, and I make my vote every week. But all the panelists are sent the rankings before they're released. I just happen to be the only one that has decided to report on them, I guess, and decided to like put things out and say what the updates are. But what's funny is now you have like these social media accounts that will cite me, and I appreciate them citing me as saying, hey, according to John Morgan, Moicano doesn't move up, he stays at number 11 or whatever it is every week, right? But lately, I've been getting people that are like coming at me thinking that like I'm the one that made that ranking. They're like, oh, this guy doesn't even know how to do rankings. He left him at number 11. Like, I'm like, no, bro, I'm just reporting on what the updated rankings are. So that's been kind of a funny byproduct to see people coming at me and assuming like I'm the guy that's doing the rankings all by myself. And what do you know about fighting? And you're one of those guys that Dana's talking about that doesn't know what he's talking about. So I don't know. It's been kind of funny, but we do know that they're trying to work on the rankings. The biggest thing, to me, the biggest thing is they need more credible names in there, man. Like more people that people recognize, because I mean the list. The list of people, and I don't even know what the current list is anymore, because I don't even think they list the names anymore. They just list certain outlets or whatever. I don't know. Like, I don't know how much. I don't want to attack the people. I'm not saying I hate them. I just think they can do. They got to get more people, taking part in it. But I know when I worked for MMA Junkie, we weren't allowed to do it. We were told by the company we couldn't vote in the rankings. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see how they do it. I know Dana's joking, but like AI, do you think AI is the best? I mean, it's not really AI. I think everybody calls everything AI. It's not AI, right? But like Tapology, for instance, Tapology uses algorithms and metrics and mathematical calculations, right? Do you think that's the best way to do it, where there isn't like a human involved and it is just like computers processing information and strength of schedule and results and all that, and that's the best way to tabulate it?
But I mean, sometimes too, I think when it looks like that, I mean, like all AI is doing it, just like when, like you're saying, it's data, compiling, and then it tries to make some sort of sense. But I think when you might run into issues when it comes to MMA math. Like, say it sees a fighter that's 13-1 and a fighter that's 12-2, but the 12-2 guy has that one win over the 13-1 guy. Will AI understand that and say, okay, well, I need to make sure that he's above this 13-1 guy? Or is it going to say, obviously, by just the data alone, this 13-1 guy should be better because he doesn't have 2 losses? Whereas if you take the human element, might be like, well, dude, I got to give the fighter versus fighter credentials and say he's actually beat that guy. Yep. You have to kind of take those numbers into account, and I'm not sure AI on its own can do that. Maybe with proper training, and that's the whole thing. Is AI is a model that they're training, and maybe it'll get better, and eventually that'll be something that is trained into it. But at this point, I mean, it's great because it takes you could feed it data and data and data, and then you teach it to learn how to understand a query to interact with that data. And you ask it a thing, and then it presents the data in a form that you think is what's the actual result, because every time it feeds a thing and you say, okay, well, that was good, and you give feedback on these results, it takes that as a learning model and then it builds it for the future. But, will it eventually get to the point where maybe can make some pretty darn good rankings? Yeah, I think so, but I think it's still got a ways to go, and I think there needs to always be still a human element that checks off to make sure, or to at least add some things into it, because it's if it just goes off the data alone and takes the human element, I think there might be some possibilities to miss some things that but again, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe if everybody's riding a hype train and everybody wants to give credit for something, the machine's like, you're too close to it, pull back, just look at the numbers, then maybe there is something to it. But
I think you're spot on, because so my work with CFFC obviously is becoming greater and greater. One of the things we talked about was having a ranking. So I went into Tapology and I pulled all of our guys that have fought professional fights for us at CFFC in the last year and put rankings together in each one of our divisions. And we actually ran into that exact situation. So this past weekend, we crowned a new champion, Bilal Hassan, which, by the way, if you get a chance to go watch Bilal Hassan's performance.
I did watch that fight. That was badass.
That dude is good, man.
That was badass.
That dude is good.
He's good on the mic, too.
Bro, he's great on the mic.
He's
23 years old. He was fighting a late replacement that was a little bit overmatched, but, he went out there and showed that it was an overmatched opponent, and that's what...
That guy had a lot of heart, too.
Oh, he did.
That guy that stepped up had a lot of heart, too. That was good. That was a banger. They showed a lot of respect. Did they used to train together, or what was the deal with that? Did they have a relationship prior?
They were just nice guys. They're just like Jose Leon is like the nicest dude ever. He just likes everybody. After the fight,
cool.
Even though he lost, after the fight, North Dakota does a thing where you have to pay the fighters individually in front of the commission. So you go into a boardroom afterwards, they're paying. And Jose Leon, even though he lost, he's in there shaking everybody's hand, saying thank you. I'll be back. I appreciate it. He's just a nice dude. So anyway. Yeah. Bilal Hassan, amazing. Go watch that fight if you didn't. He's our champion. But if you look at it, if you go to our rankings that I put together based strictly on the Tapology rankings, which is that mathematical formula, in the flyweight division, we have Badmatsarin Dorziev above Israel Gavan, who Israel Gavan beat Badmatsarin Dorziev, who was the champ at the time. Israel Gavan couldn't take the title because he had missed weight, so that's why he's not the champion. But even though it's a head-to-head matchup, and so I was actually our good buddy Nolan King. I've been talking to him about this as well because he works with Tapology, and I was like, I wonder if there's a way that you could program into the queries, like you said, is like, hey, we're going to put these statistics together, but if there's head-to-head results, we got to switch that. We got to respect those head-to-head results. But I honestly, I think if you can continue to work on that, I honestly don't think machine-based rankings, are the worst thing ever. But I think you hit the nail on the head. There's going to be in the same way that I think humans make some mistakes here and there, the machines will make some mistakes here and there unless there's somebody overlooking them. So I don't know. I'm anxious to see. I know the UFC is looking to come up with something new. I can tell you what screws up the lightweight rankings right now, because me, we've talked about it before. You've seen it. I have a spreadsheet. I have everything in front of me, and this dates back to the days when I was working with George Garcia very closely on the rankings. I want to see everything side by side. What screws things up is that Dan Hooker has a nice win streak going right now, right? But one of those wins is Mateusz Gamrot. Then you have Beneil Dariush, who has the win over Mateusz Gamrot as well, but Mateusz Gamrot has only lost to those guys and nobody else. So you have this three-pack of guys that are right in the middle of it. That's what kind of screws everything up right now, because there's no question at the top. Well, there is a question. I'm surprised Max Holloway is as low in the official rankings as he is, because he did knock out Justin Gaethje, as Dana White alluded to. So anyway, that's but I'm telling you, it's Mateusz Gamrot, Dan Hooker, Beneil Dariush that are the ones that are causing all the chaos in the rankings. But I still am shocked that Moicano didn't move up.
Have you looked at the UFC or the MMA Junkie rankings? It's a mess.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't give the website a lot of page views. If not,
well, I would tell you, because I actually found the person that I found the name that was given me that was like, oh, no wonder Dana's shaking his head. Because in the Junkie current rankings, Grant Dawson is number 9. He's not even in the top 15 of the UFC rankings. And I'm looking at the Junkie rankings, and you said you were surprised that
he's number 8.
Max Holloway's number 10. He's number 9. He was 8, I think, at the other time. So there must have been a change because I swear when I looked at the note that was given to me, it said, why do we have Grant Dawson as number 8? Now he's number 9. So something moved. We don't even have Max Holloway in our top 15 of lightweight.
He knocked out Justin
Is that
Gaethje.
Because I told you, I don't pay attention to our rankings anymore. They don't make no damn sense.
Oh, he's not even.
It's MMA Junkie AI.
He's not even.
It's MMA Junkie AI.
Okay, I take it back. Dana White knew exactly what he was saying. He saw your rankings. All right, well, I don't.
It don't make no damn sense. I mean, I know you guys used to do something where if they switched weight classes and took a fight out of the class, you would remove them from a prior one if he got a ranking. I think that happened at some point, right?
Is George still in charge of the rankings for you guys? Is he still?
As far as I know, I don't know if nobody talks about him anymore.
He's very much and obviously, man, worked with him for years. I'm sure he'll tell you this. He's very much a slow in, slow out, I think is the way that he likes to phrase it, is that like you don't have huge, big moves up or down either way because one fight shouldn't impact things that much. And I do agree with that. Like you can't just go topsy-turvy because of one result. But I always used to say, too, and this is one place where him and I kind of differentiated a little bit, was if I have a complete body of work the way Max Holloway does and I go into a new division, you don't completely lose that body of work, I don't think. You know what I mean? And I know it's a tough one.
Sure.
I know it's a tough one with Max Holloway, too. For instance, let's say it's a fight where he's losing the whole fight, and then in the end, he has that classic moment at UFC 300, but he's down 4-0 at that moment, and he knocks out Justin Gaethje. Maybe you don't throw him all the way up at the top, but he came to lightweight with this huge body of work that he has at featherweight. He dominates Justin Gaethje throughout the fight on the scorecard, and then he has the highlight reel knockout that he doesn't even have to have on top of it. You know what I mean? He could have cruised to a decision, but he goes and does that. I think you have to reward him by putting him in the lightweight rankings, and you have to put him in front of Justin Gaethje. I mean, he went in there, Yep. He beat the guy, he knocked him out, and this is, and it's funny because I know, well, since Kevin Iole brought him up by name in his interview, I probably wouldn't have brought him up by name, but since Kevin did, Christoph Gossing, who's been in charge of the rankings from a UFC employee perspective, and he's somebody that I've been talking to about this, he and I agree on something too. If you don't think that Max Holloway deserves to be at number 4 in front of Justin Gaethje, maybe you at least believe that Justin Gaethje should slide down to 8 or 9 or 10, and Max Holloway's in front of him. You know what I mean? It's there's ways to look at it. So I mean, I get it. Look, there's always going to be differing opinions, but yeah, I think you're. Well, I don't want to. I'm not going to comment on
the ranking. Well, it does bring to mind that. I mean, I feel like. And I don't want to sound like I'm jumping on George, but I feel like we should pose the question and Simon say, hey, we need to probably maybe take a look at how our rankings are being done and decide whether we want to stick with this, to maybe reflect changes if people are going to pay attention to rankings. Because, yeah, our rankings right now, if you just took a quick glance and just look out of place, we only have, and maybe it's because we only wanted to put Max in the one division. We have it like number 3 on the featherweight rankings or something. But, yeah, if you're competing in 2 divisions and let alone you're beating guys at the top of the division, you should have some representation in the rankings in that division. It just makes sense.
All right.
If not, it's like the fight didn't happen.
Okay, hold on. I'm not going to jump on MMA Junkie AI, but didn't Olivier Aubin-Mercier retire? I'm pretty sure.
Isn't he on the fence?
I'm pretty sure he retired. He's at number 13. I'm pretty sure he retired after he won the PFL last year. Maybe I'm wrong. But did he come back?
But it was like I thought he made like it was like an on the fence thing, or maybe what did he say? I think he did, but maybe they're giving him to see whether it's like when those MMA retirements with the air quotes.
Okay.
Like I say I'm done, but I'm not really truly done. But I don't know.
All right, now I got it.
I mean, you're Mr. PFL. You would know better than me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I thought he retired last time out. But all right, you know what? I got to get with George now. George is right down the street from us.
Going back to it, we need to. I think as a group, look at our rankings and make sure that they're being properly addressed. And if it's too much for one particular person, just assign people to start working on it as a group.
You know what?
As a team. I mean, we're putting.
There was a time, and I thought this was a solid idea. It was my idea, so maybe that's probably why. But there was a time where we actually had like individual employees assigned to a division. So it's like, hey, we're going to do this as a whole. We're going to review it as a whole. Like me and George will go through but you know, you, Cold Coffee, are in charge of the bantamweight division. So you know the bantamweight division inside and out. You're paying attention to everything that happens in the bantamweight division. You know what I mean? So you could be finely tuned into one division, because it's a lot to do every division and every ranking and whatever. So I don't know if maybe that's something that could be beneficial, where it's like, hey, so-and-so, you're in charge of this division. Please make sure you're paying special attention to everything that happens within it so that we can have it as accurately as possible. Or we just go to AI, get the machines doing
it. Yeah, I mean, it's the wave of the future.
It's the wave of the future.
I mean, if Dana's going to take the UFC that way, why don't we all do that?
I'm telling you.
You know, sponsored by Elon Musk and Grok.
All right, let's talk about, you were obviously in Salt Lake City. Have you? Well, but I guess before we get too much into the card, have you gotten to enjoy Salt Lake City? It's a beautiful place, man. Obviously, I'm not there this weekend. I like Salt Lake City. It's a little bit of a slower pace kind of town or whatever, but it's gorgeous. There's beautiful landscape around it. It's pretty. There's a great club. What is it? Area 15, that crazy ass club that we always
Club Area 51.
Club Area 51. Is that it? Yeah, Club Area 51. Yeah. So that's always, shout out to Jose Youngs for always turning us on to that crazy dive bar weird club.
Yeah. We will be there. I think Friday night is the day that we're going to visit Club Area 51.
Club Area 51.
Friday night, I think, has been. It is beautiful. It is beautiful here, but I went and ate at this little Legend sports bar around the corner last night. The food was decent price. The beer was decent price. Had me a couple beers. I was so tired yesterday that all I could think about afterwards was just getting food and then going back and going to sleep. But I will tell you something that has not changed, and it surprised me. They have a huge, like, druggy, homeless, like, people on the streets problem around this sort of downtown area. It has not changed. Like, remember last year there was a stabbing in the park from all the homeless.
Oh my God, I did forget that. We walked right by it. I totally forgot about that.
Walked right by it. There's there's this big, huge green park that at night, you know, kind of gets taken over by like the homeless. They'll sleep in it, and there's some missions around the corner, and I think that's why they're in the area, because they're able to get food and stuff in the morning. But walking back from the Legends place last night, I think I passed a corner where there was like 3 or 4 people obviously out of their minds. Walked down the street heading towards a hotel. There were like probably 13 people, half of them with their clothes on, half clothed, wasted off of something, and just like clearly just they're on the something good, obviously, but out of their minds. But it was to the point, like, you know, I'm almost 300 pounds. I wasn't too worried about me, but if there was a woman or somebody walking on their own that's less, I would be scared to walk down that street, you know. Yep. And it's crazy because you're in the middle of fucking Salt Lake City. You think it's all like picturesque, and you're like, oh, this is the perfect place. Boy, they have a problem here with some of their homelessness and their like these people in the drug use shit. And it's right in the middle of the town. But it's crazy because, yeah, when you look up, you see the beautiful mountains. When you look down, you see somebody half passed out off of something. And you're just like, okay, this is an interesting juxtaposition of, you know, beauty and complete debauchery or something.
At this point, I should probably mark the disclaimer that this message has been brought to you by the Utah Office of Tourism. This is a paid advertisement. We partnered with them officially. We should probably no. Clearly not. Clearly, we're not looking for the Utah tourism. But no, listen. I mean, I make jest, but. Look, without getting, I mean, we try to make this a fun MMA podcast, but obviously, like, we see that here. I mean, I'm back home in Las Vegas. You're in Salt Lake right now, but obviously, you know, you go to downtown Las Vegas, it's sad. It's literally the corner, like, Main Street, Las Vegas is like a homeless camp. You know what I mean? It's a sad reality. But you know what? I had totally forgotten about that park and seeing that stabbing. Man, that was crazy. It is Man, I know it's not just a Vegas issue or a Salt Lake issue or whatever, man.
It's definitely not. I mean, it's definitely all over. But yeah, it's just one of those things that, you know, and I could have just not said anything and said, of course, you know, it's beautiful. No, it's beautiful.
We're trying to give the truth.
But I'm telling you, yeah. I mean, walking back because I forgot about, because when I walked a certain way, it was lighter. But when Oscar and his training partner, Oscar's out here trying to get some work in, so he brought a training partner to spar with. out here. They walked the other path, and he was like, bro, that walk was kind of interesting. He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? He's like, oh, I think some crackhead woman tried to throw a bike at me to get my attention, and she was like, hey, or something. I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
It's bonkers. I mean, drugs are bad, kids.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Drugs are bad. Okay. Why? Don't take drugs you can't handle. They take your life away. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just one of those things. You see it in a lot of major cities. You know, you can't sugarcoat it. You know, as pretty as, you know, you might paint a building, but, you know, you can't fix the neighborhood around it a lot of times. The neighborhood is what it is. But on the whole, it is beautiful here. There are great people here. The food's good. The cost is really good. Like, that's one thing, you know, we're so used to going to some of these big cities. You try to go out and eat, and you have to, you know, take a loan out, you know, to go eat dinner. And it was pretty, the food was good last night, and it was reasonably priced. So that's good. So it's definitely, you know, it's worth coming here. And I wouldn't say don't come here, because if you're worried about whatever, but, you know, when you just think about, you know, Salt Lake City and you think of the name, you think of, you know, clean cut, you know, the Mormons and religious society, and the city's, it's going to be, just everybody minding their P's and Q's. And it's like,
You know, you got to be, if you're walking around downtown, you do have to be a little bit aware of your surroundings because of that. I mean, that's just.
Be aware of your surroundings, especially at night.
That's very fair. All right. I want to get into the card and all that first, but I believe you may have buried the lead there, and we need to go into this. Did you say that Oscar Willis brought a training partner with him to Salt Lake City? So he is
flew him out, got him a hotel room.
He is investing in this training camp by flying in training partners when he's on the road. My goodness.
Yep. This is a guy that he'd been training with at Extreme Couture. So yeah, they got rounds in last night. Oscar hit me up. He was like, "Hey, you want to hit the gym at like noon in like an hour from now?" I went down the gym a little bit earlier today, and it wasn't very well. Like, it was like kettlebells and a few things. I was like, "Bro, we can get work in, but it's not like we can't, you know, do a lot of things." But yeah, he's out here doing the work, man. Last night he ate. I had the fish and chips, and I had the wing special, but I had me a couple beers. He had water and fish and chips. He's doing the shit. He got spars in yesterday. He's going to spar today. And now, since it's at altitude, it's about, I think we're 1,000 foot higher up than where we are in Vegas. Maybe 1,000.
Really?
Less than 2,000 feet higher. Yeah. Salt Lake City is not as high as I thought.
No. I thought you meant his fight in Spain. I was like, there's no way. You're talking about Salt Lake City's got some altitude. Yeah, you're up in the mountains a little bit.
Yeah, so he's getting some work. Even when I was on the treadmill downstairs, I was like, whoa, I see what they're talking about. You know, like, it's not as easy. Because I usually always get on that and I raise the incline. I was like, well, I'm breathing a little bit more than I should be right now. I was like, I am really out of shape.
All right, well, listen. Hey.
But yeah, he is trying to do the work, man. It is, it's pretty cool. Yeah, altitude here is 4,265. And if I can remember right, Vegas is,
I think it's like 1,700.
2,000.
2,000?
So so I guess twice the altitude from
Vegas. There you go.
So,
a little bit lower than Denver, but still some altitude. So, all right, well, that fight, I mean, I know it's circled on everybody's calendar, but that bare knuckle fight is next week in Spain, right? It's next weekend. So, your move, Ben the Bane Davis. Oscar Willis is flying in training partners and paying for hotels and travel. So if you don't think these guys are taking this seriously, which, you know, they both have a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek, and neither one of them has these delusions of grandeur that, like, once they do this, then they'll get a title shot, you know what I mean, because they're the world's greatest fighter. But if you're worried that they're not taking it seriously, look at that, flying in training partners, man.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, like, you know, and you can game plan all you want, but you walk out there and you take that first punch, they're just going to be swinging.
Oh, yeah.
So all this work that they're doing right now is just building up for that moment, you know. So as much as we could try to train to hit mitts and, do this. Oh, you should try this. I remember we did that before his first MMA fight. None of that shit made it into the ring. It just all went out. Like, we had worked on some combos. I was like, oh, bro, do this, do that. He's like, yeah, that's looking good. Never saw it once in the fight. And I was like,
all right.
You know, as much as we'll try to do, it's just trying to get him ready at that moment, because both these guys. But yeah, if people think they're not taking it serious, both of them. I mean, I'm not following Ben around, but just seeing what Oscar's put into it, and then what he's doing like this week. I mean, spending money, you know, to prepare for this, man. They're taking it serious, you know. I appreciated that Connor on that latest crazy Coke binge, whatever. He actually gave a shout out to his to Oscar. Did you see that on that little?
Well, I saw I saw the stream, but I didn't see.
He finally said something.
Yeah?
He finally somewhere in there said something. I think Oscar tweeted it or whatever. He's like, yeah, Oscar Willis. He's gonna be a bare knuckle. Yeah, journalist. I guess maybe they didn't like what they were saying or something. I was like, but that had nothing to do with it, Connor. I was like, have you not paid attention at all? But I was like, thank God he finally said something. I was like, you got your own employee out here fighting on something that you're part ownership, and you haven't even said anything about it. And I was glad he finally said something. Awesome. Though I bet he probably doesn't remember saying anything about it. But yeah, so yeah, man, he's taking it serious. So yeah, man, it's fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Next weekend,
I'm going to be stressed out watching it.
I know you will.
So I think we're going to try to get like a little watch party together in Vegas somewhere to watch it. So
nice.
We'll see.
Okay, cool. So that's next week on DAZN. Yeah, let me know, man. I'm going to be stressed out watching both those guys. I'm stressed out for both of them. You know what I mean? So I know you're a lot closer to Oscar than you are to Ben, but obviously I've called some fights with Ben and traveled a little bit with them as well. So I'll be stressed out on both sides. That's next week. All right. So listen, I want to get your take on this card, right? Because you guys were, I watched your guys' media day coverage yesterday. You guys spoke to all the participants. I heard, all the media that was there. And I'm curious kind of what the buzz was, because I know that, I hear the questions and I hear the answers, but you get to hear the feel in the room and people are talking, things that aren't on. Because I'm interested in this card, right? Because I'm interested in what the take and the feel is on the ground, because I actually feel like this is a pretty fun pay-per-view. And I feel like there's some really fun, interesting fights. There could be some absolute chaos that happens depending on how these fights play out, right? But I'm also not being asked to pay $75 for it, right? Like, this is just, I'm an interested observer watching it. I'm not, being tasked with paying this money to see it, which I know the average consumer, especially right now, we know how the economy is right now and how tight things are and bills for everybody. I know how tough it is. But I look at this fight card, and I'm actually pretty thoroughly entertained by it. I think there is some real danger for Alex Pereira against Khalil Roundtree Jr. I know the odds don't necessarily show that, but I think there's some real danger in that fight. And obviously, the women's bantamweight title fight coupled with the number one contender fight between Ketlin Vieira and Kayla Harrison, who obviously I've been a big fan of Kayla Harrison for a long time. I'm intrigued by that. You add in a legend like Aldo against a great dude like Batista. You add in Roma Delite and Kevin Holland. Who's not going to sign up for a Kevin Holland fight? Wonder Boy versus Joaquin Buckley when you go all the way down to the prelims. Even the early prelims. How about the things opening up with Court McGee versus Tim Means? I mean, like two old school legends of the game. Yeah. So I don't know.
That's old school.
I don't know. I look up and down this card and I think, you know what, man? I think we're in for a damn good night on Saturday night, but I also know it's not Conor McGregor fighting, or it's not, I don't know. So I see both. Like, I understand why some people are critical of this card. I really, really do. And again, I'm just looking at it as an entertainment perspective. I think it's going to be fun, but I understand why some people might not be excited about it. So what was the feel for you guys in the room, and what's the buzz? Are people feeling this card? Are people criticizing this card? What's the thought?
I definitely haven't heard any criticizing from people here on the grounds, because obviously everybody made the effort to come out here and actually watch the fights, participate in the fight week. And I will tell you, I'm not alone. I did pick Alex for this one, but I am not alone in that room thinking, along with everybody else, that Khalil has a huge chance. Yes. And a perfect chance to take this fight. This is the kind of fight that Khalil wins. I mean, if Alex is... I think everybody's thinking, there's going to be some crazy head kick knockout. There's going to be whatever. Khalil is tough as all get out, man. And this is the kind of fight that he's been itching and hoping for and working his whole life for. And it would be the perfect bookending to an incredible story already. I mean, it's like the universe wants it to happen. And if it did, I would be so happy for him. And I wouldn't care that I messed up on my staff picks.
Right.
Because Khalil, he's such a nice guy. He puts his heart on his sleeve every time he goes up there. And I even felt yesterday, like, before he mentioned before this call, he was dealing with some of the worst shit. And I wanted to ask him about it, but it ran really long. And I was like, oh, God, I don't want to be the guy that brings up this other moment, some downer moment on one of his big fight weeks. But this is also the same guy that in the past has criticized us for not doing such. So I felt like, the guy, he's so honest and open about things he's going through that it would be so amazing for him to get this opportunity to bring this. One, he wants to bring it back to Vegas, which of course gets us excited. Yep. We see these belts happen, we see them travel all around the world, but it's pretty darn cool when they reside and live in the city that we live in, that now that we call home. So I kind of want that for our city as well. But man, he has a great chance for this. I think I think the odds makers aren't giving him. I think the last I saw he was like a minus 500 or a plus 500, plus 600.
Yeah, he's way up
or
there.
Something. Or maybe I'm looking. It was up there, and I think that's unfair. I think people are just buying in the fact that Alex is just. He's been this boogeyman, and people are afraid to pick against him, and maybe that's partially why I didn't want to jump the gun and go Khalil. But I will tell you this, and Khalil, you can thank me later. Every time that I haven't picked you in moments like this, you have won. So congratulations on your light heavyweight championship, Khalil. You can thank me for that later. As for the Juliana Pena Raquel fight, I think it's a great fight, man. I picked Juliana. Because I think when it gets to the ground, where I think it gets to the ground, I think she has the skills necessary, and I think she's hated so much that I think the UFC needs a nice heel again with a belt. But listening to Raquel talk, man, I was so swayed to be like, why did I pick Juliana? Because Raquel, hearing her talk about, like she can't really spar in practice, so she's got to spar with the dudes because the women can't take her power, and she does have power, and she's no slouch on the ground either. When she gets girls down to the ground, she pounds them.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
I'm just gonna leave that there for a second.
Earlier,
she's badass.
It was kind of a serious moment, so I didn't want to say anything. But earlier, you were talking about how 7.5 inches could destroy Vegas, and I decided not to say anything at that moment. But since we're well past the serious moment, and I believe we properly conveyed respect to those that were dealing with, I just want to let you know that one has been resonating in my mind for the last 30 minutes. And so, since you're dropping a giggity, I'm going for the callback right there.
I like that. Yes, 7.5 would do well in Vegas for sure.
Listen.
I'm on the fence. I picked Pena, but man, I left that room thinking I made a mistake after hearing Raquel talk. She is so. She is just so confident, and her team is believing her. And why not, man? She's done the work to get the belt. I would not be sad to see her actually defend it. But man, the UFC loves a good heel, and as much as people, I have not. It's been a while since I have seen somebody so universally sort of hated as Juliana. All the women up there yesterday were hating on her. Kayla was hating on her. Raquel was hating on her. Ketlin, I'm pretty sure, said something too, like she was hating on her. I was like, oh my God, everybody literally hates Juliana. She's bold, she's brash, she's sure of herself, and she's a strong woman. And maybe that's what people just don't like, the fact that she's boisterous and she talks and she sticks up for herself, and maybe people are like, I don't like that, and that just empowers her to do it even more. She just goes even more. But at the end of the day, she's a badass. She's a former champ. She has everything possible to get that belt again, and so I went with Juliana on this one. And plus, I saw a lot of people on our staff picking Pena, and I didn't want to give Pena the fuel to be like, Junkie, why do you hate me so much? So I
love it.
I'm jumping on that one.
I love it. You're putting the brand on your shoulder and say, but you know what? Look, I'm a little bit surprised to see that Pennington is the favorite here. So we'll start with the co-main event, and then I want to talk about the main as well. But since you left it there, I actually kind of believe Pena going into the fight. Since the fight was announced, I pretty much assumed Juliana was going to win this fight. I assumed that Kayla was going to win her fight as well, and we were going to get Kayla and Juliana next, which would be a hell of a build-up to a fight. I mean, the talk between those two would be unbelievable. As you said, Juliana has no problem kind of embracing that heel role and promoting. In fact, Juliana even said, right? I mean, she kind of took some shots at Raquel Pennington and said Raquel is not the one to promote. She's been terrible representation of the division. She hasn't tried to hype it up, and I think it's my place to come in here and do a better job of that. So that's been my feeling since this thing was announced. I don't know that I'm switching yet, but there's two things that I want to point out from Media Day yesterday that I really, really liked. One, You're 100% right about Raquel Pennington. After that media day, I started thinking, why have I been writing this girl off? Like, she does have power. Juliana Pena's stand-up is not the greatest, and as long as Raquel Pennington can stay on her bike, stick and move, stay away. And the other thing is, Juliana Pena pisses her opponents off. Always. She gets in their head, she upsets them, and I think she gets people to fight outside of their game plan because they're pissed off and they want to execute. I feel like Raquel Pennington is the kind of person that is like, I don't care what you're saying. Like, I do not – I say whatever you want. I'm happy. I got my family. Yep. I got my belt. I got my team. I've been through the lows. We know her journey to get here. So I feel like she's the kind of girl that can stay above the noise and not let it affect her in the least and just stick to the game plan. And if she can stick and move, stay out of the grappling exchanges, not that she can't grapple at all, but that's clearly Pena's best opportunity. Stay out of the grappling exchanges. She can absolutely light things up on the feet, and she can win this fight. And I do feel, now that we're in fight week, that I have not been giving Raquel Pennington enough of a chance in this fight. So that was one thing that I really took out of yesterday as I was reliving the fight in my head, listening to them talk, really thinking about it. Because you know how it is. A fight gets announced, you kind of form an immediate opinion, and then you have Fight Week and Contender Series and CFFC and what, you know what I mean? Like, you don't really think about that. But now that I'm really thinking about it in my head, I think maybe I may be mistaking in that Raquel Pennington is rightful to be a favorite here, even though I'm still a little bit surprised. On the flip side, I wanted to say about Juliana Pena, because we've seen her career. As you said, we know how hated she is. I think she enjoys it. Like, she is a very confident, self-driven, woman. But I think she enjoys playing the heel a little bit too. I think she leans into it a little bit. She just knows that people aren't going to like her, so hell with it. I might as well be who I am. But I had kind of forgotten about everything that she's gone through in her career and I really didn't remember at all that this Salt Lake City location is like a full circle moment for her of where she suffered this embarrassing defeat after she had gone through this horrific tragedy and injury and all that. And so, like, she feels like this is almost like destiny, that not only do I get my belt back, but I get it here and I get to answer these wrongs. And so, I'm a lot more intrigued by this fight maybe than I was when it initially was announced. I still think I'm leaning towards Pena right now, but I think I was wrong to write off Pennington. And I mean, you got to think. I don't want to write off Ketlin Vieira either, but you know how high I am on Kayla Harrison. I've been very high on Kayla Harrison from the beginning. I just don't know that there's anybody in the sport right now that can beat Kayla Harrison. I know Larissa Pacheco did, but I'm kind of dreaming of it.
Pacheco's a beast.
She's a beast. She's a beast. And look, even Kayla, when I interviewed Kayla, and I know she was asked about it again, Kayla's been saying all along, I think Pacheco beats Cyborg all day. Like, I have no hesitation.
She got asked that question yesterday again, and it was just short and to the point. She's like, Larissa, I got Larissa winning, because she got asked again what her thoughts were on that Cyborg fight. And there's no doubt, and that's not any hatred or anything towards Cyborg. She just understands how good Pacheco is. She's been in there with her. Kayla, man, oh man, she's so good on the mic. She looked great yesterday too, coming in. Boy, she is fit.
Yeah.
But what was awesome is she believes when she says, like, I will take my fight, give me 30 minutes, and I'll go fight the champion. Like, she understands that and she believes it, and I believe she's got the cardio and the strength to do it, man. She is, she's everything that we thought, just like when Henry came over and we were like, man, these Olympic athletes, there's something different about them. And she's taken it to a whole nother level. Like, Henry came over and excelled, but Henry, unfortunately, was undersized from a lot of guys. So eventually he was fighting guys much bigger than that. At some point, you're just going to have a bad day and you're going to lose. Kayla is one of the bigger girls in her division, if not maybe the strongest and biggest in that division, and she's coming in with Olympic levels. She has all the skills and the traits to be a generational type athlete that people are looking at and they're like, holy cow, like, it's going to take some time to beat that kind of fighter. I mean, she's amazing. I mean, and she's got the whole package, man. Everything, she's been on the mic and and talking in front of cameras so long. She does it so well. She works the camera. She works the crowd. She's so sure of herself. She's got really, really smart, kicks. When she goes at a fighter, she comes off witty and sharp, and it all works, man. But yeah, I mean, Ketlin is a great fighter, but boy, she's got a lot going against her in this fight, and that's no slight to her. You're just going up against a generational level type fighter, that as much as people trying to say like, oh, she hasn't fought anybody, she's just starting to get her UFC, fights under her belt. That is true, but bro, don't discount where she's at right now, or you're just setting yourself up to look like a fool.
Listen, man, I'm telling you right now. And again, from the early days, I've been on the Kayla Harrison bandwagon because of all the things you said, who she is as an athlete, who she is as a person, how great she is as a total package. But look at this. She's facing the number 2 contender in the division right now, and she's a minus 900 favorite. I mean, that is unbelievable.
That's crazy.
But I tell you what, man, if I don't know if it'll play out this way, but I think if Kayla wins and Juliana wins, the build-up between those two would be one of the most insane women's fights of all time. And for those two to go at it, and if Kayla could prove victorious there, and then Amanda Nunes would come out of retirement to have that long-awaited super fight between the former training partners, the ex-teammates. I mean, my God, what a run that would be for Kayla Harrison. And then at that point, if you're Kayla, I think you're just done, right? You're just like, there's nothing else for me. Like, I've beaten everybody. I've done everything. I mean, maybe maybe then we'll see what's happening with Cyborg or something. I don't know, but I mean, oh gosh, I would love to see that run. But Ketlin Vieira, Raquel Pennington, they can all ruin that as well. But I'm quietly inside cheering for that because I just think the build-up would be absolutely insane. So, all right, the main event. I want to mention a couple things. Here's my thing on the main event. And it is why, and again, it's so funny, and we've talked about this, but when it was first announced, it was absolutely not a fight that I had thought about whatsoever. But as soon as it was announced, I got intrigued by it. It was funny. I've told this before, but I ran into Khalil Roundtree actually in the airport the next day after it was announced, and like we were crossing paths. He was heading out of town. I was heading in town. I was like, Khalil, bro, I'm so happy for you because, as you said, he's a Vegas guy. Came up through tough enough. You know what I mean? I got to call some of his amateur fights, and now he's fighting for a world title. So there's a number of reasons why personally, locally, I'm excited. But take all that out of the equation. If you're a fight fan, I think you should be excited for this because, as you said, I think everybody realizes there's danger here. Now, Alex Pereira could absolutely knock out Khalil Roundtree in the first round, and a lot of people would be like, see, that was stupid. That was a dumb fight. I don't even know why we did this. But I don't think that accurately portrays why this is exciting. Regardless of how this thing ends one way or the other, Khalil presents a problem on the feet, and I think that those exchanges early on, I mean, there's going to be some goosebumps. There's going to be some nerves. There's going to be some excitement. And so I'm excited for that. And it's kind of gotten a little extra wrinkle here, right? Because I find this kind of interesting. Now, Merab Dvalishvili obviously had a great performance against Sean O'Malley. Now, Merab Dvalishvili we think of as a Longo Weidman guy, and Ray Longo was in the corner, and obviously Ray Longo brought him up from the Tommy's local. But Merab has moved out to Vegas, and he spent a lot of time with John Wood, right? And so here you have a guy in his first title fight in the main event of a huge card going up against an incredibly popular champion, and Merab goes out there and absolutely performs. And these are two totally different types of fighters, but you have John Wood in that corner, and you have John Wood in this corner. And Khalil is a different type of fighter mentally. He's a different type of fighter stylistically, but he finds himself in a similar position where it's his first title fight. He's going against a superstar. I think some people were giving Merab a chance. I know I certainly was picking Merab, but, nobody's giving him a chance. And I don't know. I wonder if there's anything that John Wood can take from that experience to help Khalil deal with this. Khalil is a very honest, thoughtful person, emotional person, so I got to think he's going to be riding that roller coaster, maybe more so. Merab's kind of the machine of just like, I don't think he has any emotion that soaks in. I think Khalil will, but I wonder if John Wood can maybe offer something that he learned from that very recent experience, a successful experience, that he can convey to Khalil. And not for nothing, but the World MMA Awards, now I'm working with those guys behind the scenes. Boy, if John Wood is in the corner of these two guys winning back-to-back championship fights, you got to start – I know it's early in the voting period, but you got to start talking about Syndicate MMA and John Wood as –
for next year.
Yeah, for next year as –
Yeah, I was going to say, because the window just closed on September 30th.
Yeah, those votes just closed.
So,
all the winners have been selected for the ones that are coming up soon, but I'm talking about is making some early cases for next year. What a hell of a way out of the blocks that would be for John Wood and for Syndicate MMA.
Yeah, huge. I think for a long time, Syndicate and Extreme, were set as like this head to head, the two biggest, baddest gyms in town, and then kind of Syndicate, some fighters had left and maybe just you didn't hear the name. You knew they were still here in town grinding away, still doing great work. It just kind of was in the shadow for a little bit behind Extreme when Extreme got a title and other stuff. But boy, that would be huge. And just it'd be so exciting. It'd be so exciting. But yeah, I think he's definitely got to learn some. But yeah, I mean, Rob's very, very different than than Khalil in emotion wise and things of that sort. But I think that's the biggest thing that's gonna, the battle of that night is how do you get your fighter just to be level and even, not let too many emotions go. But Wood's been in this game for a long time. He's been with a lot of really, really big fighters on some big moments, and I think that's why the fighters have stuck with him so long, because he has a great relationship with them. So I'm sure he knows the right things to kind of get him up, for these big moments and kind of get him, excuse me, ready to go. It just happens to be that this fight is for a belt, and it's the stakes are a little bit higher, and the emotions might run. But I'm not worried that John's not going to be, so overly hyped himself that he's going to do anything different that hasn't worked for him in the past. And I'm sure Khalil, just hearing him he was so grateful at the media day that he's taken all this in, that I think he's not going to get too overly excited or too overly nervous, because I think he's just grateful to be there. But I'm hoping that that doesn't give him a sense of like, whatever happens, I'm happy with it. I'm peaceful. I want there to still be that drive that it's like, I'm happy with whatever happens, but I really fucking want to get this. I'm really gonna go out there and get this. I want there to be that edge. But Khalil's never been one of those one. I mean, we've seen him open up during fight weeks, and we've seen him very sort of bare his heart and get very emotional. But fight night, one thing I can say that we've always seen, the guy's solid.
Yep.
I've never seen any doubt in his eyes on fight night. When we've seen him after the fights, he's always been level-headed. So I give him all the credit. He's been through a lot of shit in his life that I think probably would have broke a lot of other people. Yes. And I think this is just one of those moments. And again, I want to see the storybook ending. I want to see this for him. I think it would be amazing. So I think Wood just needs to keep him focused, keep him thinking about one step in front of the other. And when you get in there, one punch after the other, 1-2 down the middle, and just go from there. Don't get too excited. You're going to take some knocks. You're going to feel his power. And then you're going to show him your power, and then we'll see whose power wins the day.
It's
going to be fun. I'm gonna be so ready and excited for that fight.
It's funny because you're right. It's obviously more and more of a broadcaster these days, more and more of a behind the scenes guy than I am a journalist. The journalist in me obviously is you just want to see a great fight, but the person in me, the fan in me, I'll be honest with you. I think you kind of laid it out there. I'm kind of pulling for Khalil. Like, this would change his life. I mean, it's already changed his life that he's in the title fight. I mean, that's already a huge accomplishment. But to win the belt, like, Alex Bejeda's legacy is set. Like, his popularity is set. Like, if he lost here, sure, it would be devastating. It would be frustrating. It would be painful. But his legacy is secure and his popularity is secure. He would bounce back, and, there's other options for him. And there's, I mean, the guy's a superstar. But Khalil Roundtree can absolutely change his life on Saturday night, and I guess there's a part of me that just it's pulling for it. I'd love to see it, man. Just, can you imagine the emotion, the moment, the feel? I mean, oh my God, it'd be pretty spectacular. So I think the fan in me is, I have to say, even though that sounds weird because I love Alex Bejeda too, man. That guy is great. I'm not saying anything against him. I think there's a part of me that's just kind of pulling for Khalil because I think it would be such a beautiful moment.
It would be incredible, and it's funny, you said you were holding on that Las Vegas thing. I was just about to close a tab on my computer and I'm on to remember. Next time you talk to Moicano, tell him turtles do climb. There are turtles that can climb trees. Just saying. Some turtles can climb trees. You tell Money Moicano, some turtles can climb.
Dan Hooker's got to find one of those turtles and like make it his pet. You know what I mean? Just like, you ever seen this turtle right here, bitch? This turtle climbs trees, bitch. How about Oh, man. I love it. I love it. All right, well, listen, I know you got things to do. We moved to a Thursday because we didn't really talk about it, but you actually flew into Salt Lake City yesterday, had to do the whole media day, had to process everything, and then, like you said, we're kind of – so it made sense for us to do Thursday.
I was tired.
And when we're not together on the road, maybe Thursdays do make sense. I don't know. We're always fluid, but we're gonna whether it be Cold Coffee by himself, whether it be John Morgan by himself, whether it be remote, whether it be together for 497 consecutive weeks, we're not going to leave you stranded. We're going to get you. But you have a very busy day. You still got the press conference. Well, face-offs, looking forward to the face-offs, looking forward to any back and forth.
Yeah.
Who do you guys got there? Is it just the main card, or is it everybody, or is it one of those?
It's I think it's just the main card.
Just the main card? Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like we dealt with everybody yesterday. Yesterday was so many. We even brought Jeff Robbins from the Utah Commission out. I'm like, why? Why do we have to talk to this guy? It was so long. But yeah, I want to say it was just the main card today, and then we're getting the face-offs. But no, I'm interested to see when Alex and Khalil face off. Alex is going to be the taller guy, and he's a big boy too.
Big.
But it'd be interesting, and it'd be kind of neat to see Raquel and Juliana squaring up. So I'm looking forward to those moments. As for the presser, I don't envision anything crazy is going to happen. If anything, I know some people might, maybe try to toss some stuff out to see if we can get some shit to happen. Especially with Kayla saying she would fight all the girls up there at the same night. I'm pretty sure some journalist is going to bring that up just so we can get some sound bites, but I don't envision there's going to be too much crazy trash talk happening, especially, our main event, one guy doesn't speak English, and when you lose a lot of shit in translation, and Khalil's not one to talk a lot of shit anyways, and,
right.
and it's not like Alex is out there talking a lot of shit either, the guy's pretty stoic, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the face-offs just to see the look in their eyes once they're inches away from each other, So it should be pretty interesting.
The Leeds and Holland have the potential to steal a little bit of the spotlight today because they do like to talk little games. So they could steal the spotlight. But you're right. I think it's going to be because Kayla's not a trash talker, but Kayla's obviously. I mean, we talk about Juliana Pena being strong and confident. Kayla Harrison is strong and confident as well. And as you said, she's already laid it out there that I think I could beat all three of these in one night. And I believe she truly believes that. You know what I mean? So that'll be some fire to watch there as well. So I think those – you don't think –
But somebody will have to bring it up. Like, they won't bring it up on their own.
No.
I don't think – no one's going to – they're not going to start it. It's going to have to be some media guy that throws out the tinder and then let the fire, kick off, But – none of them are actively, I don't think, will try to go out of their way to start something on their own, but they will certainly answer the call if somebody brings it up. That's 100%.
You're damn right they will. All right, well, I'll let you get packed up. I know you got to get this thing posted and then head on over there, so I'll let you run and go do that. I will be hanging out here, but I will certainly be watching and paying attention to it. And looking forward to it. So, Cold Coffee, appreciate you getting one more round of applause for handling everything last week. I will be back on it for the and a half episode. So appreciate everybody that supports us over at patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. I always love the post pay-per-view events because there's going to be some movement and some discussion to be had. So we'll definitely do that. For everybody else, we just appreciate the support. Always, we're inching up on that 500 episode, which is a pretty big milestone.
We will be together in that because that's the Topuria Holloway Abu Dhabi, so we'll both be in Vegas unless you're going to be off somewhere, CFFC.
Nope, I'll be here. I don't got any travel that week, so yes, we'll be.
We'll
together.
do that. We'll do that, and we said we were going to do that one live. So we'll do that live to the Patreon. I'll put a link to our Patreon people.
I love it.
And there you can. At least join up with as little as $3, but we do have it to where you can come on there. And just join as a free member. But maybe I'll post that link on the Patreon. So you have to at least become a member of Patreon for that.
Right.
How about
Don't
that?
even have to give us
that?
money.
But we'll do that one live.
I love it.
We'll do that one live.
We'll do it live.
I promised that one before, so
we'll do it live.
Overdue for that.
All right. Well, all that coming. All right, I'll let you go. I know you got to get business work, so everybody pay attention to Cold Coffee's work over in Salt Lake City. For me, I'll be hanging out in Las Vegas. But more than anything, just know we appreciate you. Thanks for listening.